Kiss of Life is one of my favorite groups, and I consider them either the best team of singers or one of the best. The first time I heard them, early last year, I was captivated by how much it brought me nostalgia from 90s R&B and hip-hop. They also have a touch of 2000 South pop from the early part of that decade. In their latest album, they kept this musical structure. This 90s and 2000s pop vibe remains their sonic identity. And live, their performances are, to me, spectacular. When they perform with mix and a band, like in this performance, on its live where they performed in an open space, surrounded by the audience, in a public area. I'm not sure if it's an airport or a mall, but let's check out their song, which talks about self-confidence, about someone encouraging another person to go after what they want, without worrying about others, and even standing out. It's really an empowerment song, in their case, female empowerment. It aligns with the group's identity, which usually has this bold, strong vibe. So, let's watch and react to their video.
Yeah, I really want what I love, I can't get enough. 같은 question mark. No, I'm get the kind of cup like me. Come let's talk, yeah, we're just here to fight.
So, here, it starts with Natty and Belle. Both have very interesting vocal qualities. Actually, all four have very unique voices. They also have distinct looks, each very different from the others. Each one is from a different country. The only Korean member is Haneul. And it's the same with their voices. They all have very distinct vocal tones. Natty has a relatively bright, slightly nasal voice. It leans a bit toward a typical Asian tone. So, it's more in the palate, nasal area, and further back, giving it a slightly nasal quality. And when she speaks, you can hear it in her speech too. When she sings, it shows even more, and it's a bright voice, but not shrill. Belle's voice is bright, high-pitched, and slightly rounded, with a vertical projection technique. And their vocal techniques are very distinct. Natty is a more technically regular singer, while Belle is really technically skilled and takes a lot of risks in live performances. In this opening, they're using handheld mix, without any playback supporting their vocals. And it's an excellent performance because they are free, dancing and moving as they like, moving naturally. And throughout the song, they stay perfectly in tune, accompanied by a band with bass, guitar, saxophone, and keyboard, dry instruments in the background, and their raw voices up front. It's marvelous. And here, right at the start of the song, Natty begins in a relatively low range, clearly showcasing her vocal characteristics. And Belle starts with her powerful high notes. Her belting. And overall, her voice mostly relies on head voice. She doesn't have a very strong chest voice. Her resonance, of course, in lower tones, is less prominent. But she isn't particularly powerful. In the lower register, she is definitely a soprano, with a very high range. And all four of them make great use of the whisper voice, always adding a breathy quality. Especially the one currently on screen, July. But Belle and Natty also do this a lot. It's a unique sound characteristic of the group, giving off a sensual vibe. Belle then transitions into her mixed voice. I think it's appropriate to describe it as mixed voice, where the resonance, indeed, is focused upward, creating her distinctive vocal sound. Her voice has a slightly vertical and tubular quality, which I believe is a physiological trait. Her voice resonates mostly in the mask, from the mouth upward. Nose, eyes, forehead, and remains vertical, without yet becoming covered, but it's a powerful voice. It's also a voice that has a nasal predominance. Belle's voice. Now it's Julie's turn. Julie has a sweet timbre. She is, perhaps, the clearest example of a sweet voice in K-pop, and maybe in global pop music. If someone says sweet voice, it's Julie. It's perfect. There's another singer, I can't recall right now, with a very similar voice, someone from aespa. I think it's Winter. I believe Winter's voice is also similar to Julie's tone, though not as pronounced. Julie's voice has the perfect level of breathiness, not overdone, but noticeable and a defining feature of her sound. And it's in her speaking and singing tones, both of which are unique and signature elements. It's one of a kind. There's no other way to describe it. It's a sweet tone. It's relatively velvety, but not too dark, and simultaneously bright, without any metallic quality. That's what makes it so interesting and distinctive. I also really enjoy Haneul's voice, which I think is one of the most consistent voices in pop. Of all the singers I follow, whether recording in the studio or live, Haneul's voice always dominates whenever she approaches the microphone. She's always perfectly in tune. She has a more mid-range voice, also resonating in the mask, mainly in the nasal area, and with that metallic sound, that tone. Not so much from the glottis, but more from the nose. It's that East Asian tone I always talk about. But she's always on pitch, with a very consistent voice during register transitions. Falsetto. There's so much going on at once. This song is a spectacle, and this band version is what I really enjoy. In my opinion, all K-pop groups should perform like this live, and throw playback away, if possible, relying only on the band. To me, all K-pop groups would become bands. It's that simple. A band with 5 or 7 vocalists. That's my preference, my personal taste. But here, as I mentioned, Natty often uses her falsetto, which isn't a head voice but a true falsetto, where she gains even more breathiness and loses a lot of volume. Of course, this is compensated by the microphone, soundboard, etc., but she often transitions from chest voice or head voice directly into falsetto, moving between octaves from low to extremely high notes, and she does this very well. Nailing the transition from falsetto to chest voice. Belle's voice. She manages to move away from that nasal quality, but not entirely. She has the projection I explained earlier, but overall, her voice predominantly resonates here, in the nose. And she fits into this style, perhaps due to some anatomical comfort that's unique to her biological structure. Notice Natty's breathiness.
It's so sweet. Just like this, liquid on your lips. Group like this.
Haneul's low note just now was beautiful. She managed to place it very well, even rounded it out. She moved away from the typical East Asian resonance and softened her voice. She did this as a technique to gain volume in the low register. It might be hard to notice here, so I'll replay the section. But try to catch it. Obviously, you can't see the video here, but look for the original later. Haneul nailed this section. I like her low notes, but here, she really placed the low note with upward projection, like classical singers do. She got it right.
Just like this, liquid on your lips. Group like this.
Did you like this?
She did exactly that and did it very well, even though it was relatively spoken, because they're transitioning from rap to singing. But here she nailed the singing part.
Liquid on your lips. Group like this.
They are calm and relaxed.
Really want what I love, I can get it now. Who's that girl? Who's hot like this? They're not like this.
The metallic quality of Belle's timbre. Listen to her high notes and her chest voice. They resonate in almost the same place, and she delivered it very well. Haneul always excels in high notes. Haneul has a voice typical of Korea and Japan, but she manages to broaden her voice, instead of keeping it focused in the glottis, which can bring excessive shrillness, making the sound piercing, which can sometimes be unpleasant.
I really want what I love, I can get it now. It's you're so special. One thing I know about you. 너만 알고 있는 거야. 네가 뭐라든지 넌 다.
Very good. Look at Belle.
Zooming on your lips. It's so sweet. Just like this. Coming on your lips.
Now she brought it further back, to the glottis and the nose. So she changed the character of her voice to interpret this speech that the lyrics of the song convey. It's a speech with a daring tone. It's really a conversation. Each of them interprets a character. In this conversation told by the lyrics. But we see a lot of expressiveness, a lot of daring, very loose and free. Their vocal interpretation matches the concept of the song perfectly.
Just sweet. Just like this. They're coming on your lips. Group like this. Let's go. Like this. again, like this.
Again, it's remarkable how calm they are, dancing to their own rhythm, as they like.
자연스레 너를 이끌어가 And we going hard cause we are Just like that, we come back.
Belle brought all her brilliance and an extremely powerful high note.
We come back just like this. We gonna move like
Whistle.
walk like this.
The whistle voice is like a whistle sound. It's a technique that some Korean singers have mastered. But Belle's ability is truly impressive. She can do it whenever she wants. She truly masters it, and it's not an easy register to reach.
Can you come back just like this? We gonna move like this. Walk like this. Can you come back just like this? We're gonna swoop like this. Swoop like this.
Switching to head voice, very high, maybe coming from a mixed voice and fully transitioning to head voice with a lot of metallic quality. This voice projects upward as well. She balances between placing it on the palate and creating vocal cover. Up in the head, from the forehead upward. And even different harmonics appear in her timbre. When she reaches these extreme high notes, there, she transitions from head voice, even at such a high pitch, switching to whistle voice and back again.
Just like this, we're gonna swoop like this. Swoop like this.
Spectacular. So here, Kiss of Life. For me, it's a bit hard to react because there's so much happening at once. This song is packed with all the instruments and the four voices, each doing something different. There's the rap, the melody, and they improvise. They add melismas and improvisations in the middle. With a variety of interpretive elements. It's a show. This performance is really meant to be savored. I will react to the rest of this show. And to other shows as well. And, for me, if they're not the best singing team, which is hard to determine right now. To me, the best live-performing singer groups are Kiss of Life and MIXX, XG. And Baby Monster is very promising. Let's see now. We're in January 2025. Baby Monster is about to start their first world tour, and I've heard they'll do covers. So, we'll see how Baby Monster delivers live. What their real capabilities are, and how they handle it. Here, we have older singers. People with over 5 years of trainee experience. Like Natty and Haneul, I think. The others too, like Belle. Anyway, I think most people know them. Those who follow the group know they are experienced singers. This group was put together by the company with older members. They chose that, opting for a very different vibe from typical K-pop. And it really paid off. I think it's wonderful. I like the group. But I missed and regret that. On this tour, they didn't perform live songs. They opted to rely solely on playback. The songs were only backed by digital accompaniment. And they didn't do any covers or perform any songs this way. With a live band, live vocals at the forefront. It's a shame they didn't, but it makes sense given the tour. It wasn't a short tour, as I always say in videos, especially about XG, where I commented a lot about their tour. It's very tough for the group, for the singers. Especially in K-pop, where they also dance. Touring is very exhausting. They often get sick or injured. So, not doing it was an option too. Because you have to consider travel time, preparation time, vocal strain. It's a challenging situation, but I hope that at some point, outside Korea, they do performances like this one here. showcasing their true vocal capabilities, put to the test in a genuine live performance. So, if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below and hit the like button. Consider buying me a coffee through the links or buttons below. Any amount helps. You can pay with a card or PayPal. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch more content like this. Alright, see you next time.